Thank you very much. All right, I'm not a data scientist or an AI expert here. I'm heading one of the product lines in Siemens. We call it the Pathway Companion. The idea here is, there's a lot of research going on, as you will also see today. How can we really bring all that research at the point of decision making? So when you're looking at a patient, you talked about oncology, cardiology, neurology, other areas. So when you're looking at a lung cancer patient or when you're looking at an MS patient, how can you bring the right information from the different contexts, may it be imaging, may it be pathology, may it be lab, and all this AI insights from the big data at the point of decision making along the disease pathway? And this is what we're trying to do with the Pathway Companion. And I'm going to start with a simple analogy to give you an idea how we are thinking about it. Very simple. Everybody uses Google Maps, so I think you can connect with it. So in the past, we all had maps, but now we use Google Maps. We have intelligence on the maps, like real-time traffic jam information, or even a little warning saying, ooh, there's a traffic control, maybe you want to slow down. It's a similar idea. If you think about it, when it comes to precision medicine and so on, there is amazing research from radiology, from pathology, from genomics and so on. How can we use all that information and really say, is this the right pathway, the personalized for this patient? Is this the right outcome that you want to get? Or are there side effects if you take this pathway instead of the other? So how can I bring that knowledge at the point of decision making? And that's the analogy I would like to start with. So first and foremost, what is a clinical pathway? And what are the challenges that, during our research with many physicians, patients, and so on, what did we hear? And before I go into the solution, how we are looking at it. So a clinical pathway, very simple. There are multidisciplinary teams looking at the results, looking at the patient, and really looking at how do I best manage the patient's disease condition, what is the diagnosis, what is the right risk stratification, what do I do next? Should I treat the patient? Should I not treat the patient? What's the right treatment? So there are a lot of decisions to be done all along a clinical pathway by multidisciplinary experts. So everybody needs to have a common understanding of what the information is being presented and how do I best decide for this patient. It helps both for standardizing, so you do want consistency in the decisions, at the same time personalization of precision medicine. So when we talk about precision medicine, we cannot also forget standardization, because you want to have consistent decisions no matter where the data is coming from, which vendor, who is looking at the patient, physician 1 or physician 2. When the patient comes into the center, it should be consistent. So what are the different needs? So I'm going to start with first the needs that we understand. I'm sure there's a lot more. But as simple as we talk to a lot of patients, physicians, patients still feel very left out from the whole decision making. Can you imagine explaining radiomics results to a patient? What does that mean for me? So they would love to get more and more involved. So how can we not only talk about AI and so on, you need to be able to also explain those results to the patient at some point. When it comes to physicians, and these are challenges from industry, when we bring these solutions, we need to be able to explain to regulatory, we need to be able to come up with a good test strategy, we need to be able to explain to physicians what we are doing in the product. So, this is the challenges we also face. So when we talk about physician challenges, of course, when I need to make a decision, I don't find all the relevant information. It's great, it's in the PAC system somewhere, in the radiology results, or it's in the pathology results. I want to have it when I'm looking at the patient, or when I'm sitting in a multidisciplinary team meeting. Or look at the department head challenges. Again, whenever we talk about precision medicine, the department head challenges, when we talk to the CEO, CFO level, they always say, don't forget, you still need to be able to do within the costs. So you need to consider those aspects. You need to make sure that there is a certain level of standardization. So it's always a balance, and as industry vendors, when we bring new research, we need to think about all these aspects. Again, one of the common themes that I hear a lot, improve diagnostic accuracy from your solutions. Improve Don't look at data in silos. Don't only look at the image results. So really bring all relevant information to be able to decide, should I even treat the patient or not? So I shouldn't be over-treating the patient. And the other thing I heard a lot, I remember the physician telling me, just because we have big data and a lot of data, don't overload me with information. What is the right information? So as industry vendors, again, don't just say, oh, here's a lot of research and I can show you all this information. What is the right information? Filter that. Bring integrated insights for me. Also working together with different collaboration partners, one theme that I'm seeing a lot in many institutions is this convergence of radiology and pathology. So of course we all worked a lot in silos, so this is also Medical Imaging Congress, but at the same time I'm sure we will hear a lot today also, we need to think broader beyond imaging. So it's bringing different information about the patient together. And at the same time, there are strands in both areas. So of course, there's a lot of strands from a pathology, from a biology perspective, radiology, a lot, not only from anatomy, but physiology, a lot of data science and research happening in radiology image. And there's a lot of talks, and when we talk to many of the institutions, they say, don't think in silos, really start thinking about bringing integrated insights together when it comes to precision medicine. So again, when we think about or what we understand from integrated diagnostics, I mean, there are so many things we can do from integrated diagnostics. First of all, being precise, what is the right diagnostic information to bring together for this condition, for this patient? How do I use the aggregated insights? And as you heard, it's coming to precise diagnosis, right tissue classification, and so on. And it's at the same time going into treatment modeling, predicting, like radiomics technology, being able to predict if a patient would respond to a certain treatment or not. How can I bring those insights? Also in a way that my colleagues, in a way that my patient can also understand. So I've been in tumor boards where I've sit and just observe, because it's part of our learning, where I did feel that, you know, different, let's say, expertise, they are presenting their results, but I'm not sure if everybody understands each other. I have seen genomics experts present where radiology experts didn't really understand what that meant, or vice versa. At the same time, how do I use the integrated insights to be precise from a risk stratification perspective? So this is also one of the areas we're working together with different partners to really say, be precise with risk stratification. Use all the relevant information to even determine, is this a very low risk patient or a medium or high risk? I would like to avoid these intermediate risks where I don't know what to do about the patient. So be very precise with classifying where the patient is in the pathway. Last but not least, a lot of institutions, when we're talking to them, they said, one is the patient data, the particular CT image, PET CT image, MR image that I'm looking at. But there's a lot of, let's say, cohort data in my institution. How are you going to use those insights in order to help me? So it's not only enough to look at this patient data, show me that you're also using the cohort insights. So that's also another challenge. And last but not least, they said, don't forget, the patient always has a say in what they want as their treatment and so on. So how do you engage them? Now, my observations with, for example, multidisciplinary team meetings, I have seen and heard long preparation times, information not available when needed, or let's say I don't easily see the full patient context. Somebody is reading the patient context, or somebody has prepared that manually. Of course, there's a lot of risk of overlooking relevant information. Do you bring results from radiomics or other new research into those meetings? I haven't seen a lot of that coming into those meetings. I have seen them in the research within the radiology or within the pathology, but some of that new research is not making in when these discussions are taking place about the patient management decisions. So what the needs that they discussed with us, I want to have experts immediately understand the full patient context to be able to talk about the patient. I want, at the time of decision making, any new research that is available that's easily understandable. I would like to know what the, let's say, evidence-based guidelines tells me at this point of time, because these are changing so rapidly nowadays. I want to see the cohort outcomes. How did other similar patient cases with very similar biological conditions react? I want to know those outcomes. And I also want to know at this point of time, was there any patient preference that I should be considering? Very challenging, a lot of requests. And this is another view of the same, again, from together with a collaboration partner. I mean, the challenge, they said, when you think about precision medicine, you want all the patient-specific characteristic, all the insights you can get. You want to know what the evidence-based guidelines tell you at that point of time very fast. You want to know, are there other treatment options, treatment plans, like maybe a trial is better for this patient? Is there latest knowledge and research that I can use at this point of time, because there wouldn't be in any guideline? And last but not least, don't forget also the patient input and preferences. So precision medicine, every discipline has a lot to contribute, but we need to have, again, the integrated insights, and the more integrated insights you have, the better holistic patient management decisions we can make. And last, as I was saying, on one hand, it's always improving patient outcome and prevention or risk stratification. At the same time, we always need to think about reducing costs and so on. So what are we doing? So I'm just sharing with you a new innovation or new product line that we're working on. It's in early stage. There's a long way to go for precision medicine. There's so much we can do. So we call it the Pathway Companion. A companion in the sense it's meant to be a companion, like the Google Map analogy I said, or the navigator. It's meant to be a companion for you. You use it. You bring all the right information. It enables you to guide you to the next step. So in the same way, it's meant to be a companion. What we are doing is we are bringing results from the different sources, may it be imaging, lab, pathology, so all the latest results, and showing more integrated insights, really all along a disease pathway. So what you want to see early on in a diagnostic workup would be very different for what you want to see in a first-line treatment decision, or a second-line, or a follow-up case. So in other words, the way we are looking at it is all along a disease pathway, bring the right information, all the latest research, and really show what is the patient context at this point of time, what is the next best personalized step for this patient. Again, not to forget, every time you look at individual patients, what we're also looking at is modeling the cohort data. So how can I look at very similar biological patients and then say, what happened to those patients? What did you do for that patient? What was the outcome? Were there side effects? Were there complications, or less recurrence, or less readmission? I want to apply that knowledge at the point of decision making for each patient. So in summary, first and foremost, even like in Google Map, you want to first know where you are before you look at what's next. And of course, supporting what is the right diagnosis, right treatment, and the right cohort view to see how well are you doing along that disease pathway. So in this disease pathway view, I'm just showing you different glimpses of different research, or let's say co-creations that are going on together with many clinical partners. So for instance, when we talk about early diagnosis and so on, more and more quantified information from radiology. Now when we talk about quantified information, one of the big pain points is we don't have the results out in a structured way. So if it's not structured, less useful down the line. So one of the areas we're focusing a lot is to say, when you extract the quantified information, how can we standardize and structure the results so it can be used in the next best way in the next step? Another example here, how can we be more precise with reassessment? This is an example of taking MR or multiparametric MPRI, automatically generating like the PIRAD score, and also having a structured way for the PIRAD score. So in future, it's comparable. Otherwise, again, different institutions talking about the PIRAD score itself have different versions and apply different methods. So how can we harmonize that? Another example of a co-creation is tissue characterization, really to look at is it normal or abnormal tissue. So again, here a lot of AI and comparison with a lot of similar data to really look at Is it normal or abnormal tissue characterization? Yet another, so again, I'm just saying at different points in the pathway, what you want to see is different, right? So again, when it comes to therapy, it's not enough to say, well, this patient would respond well to radiation therapy. You need to go further to say which dose and why we think they respond well. Is it less recurrence or what is it? So in other words, we are doing some new research there also to look at what is the right precise dose level for this particular patient. Would he or she respond to radiation therapy or not? Or likewise, in the case of breast cancer, that was lung cancer. In the case of breast cancer, would a patient respond to a neoadjuvant therapy or not? So in other words, again, that is a prediction you want upfront. Imagine you're sitting in a multidisciplinary team or a physician is looking at it. If they can get a predictive value to say, okay, there's a high likelihood the patient would respond, then they would want to know that. Again, going further from treatment to treatment planning, automatically generating contours. So again, I have decided to go this way. Now what next? Again, this is not comprehensive, just to give you some glimpses. So we're working in oncology, cardiology, neurology areas. So this is not comprehensive, but nevertheless, here's another example of cardiology. What we also want to get to at some point, and starting with cardiology, what we already have is a twin of the heart. So where we want to get to is, can we look at the patient holistically as a digital twin? You need to understand every single organ, the physiological behavior of every single organ, really understand different diseases, their interplays, the comorbidities. So it's a long way when we talk precision or system medicine. However, step by step, we are trying to understand that. And if you think about the digital twin of the heart, you can really see the twin of the heart, simulate, for example, the interventions and so on, and really say, is this the right next step for this patient? And with that, one of the technologies, so my team of, let's say, data science experts are also working on the deep profiler. So ultimately, what we want to get to is like a score. Can we aggregate all relevant information about the patient and come to like a fingerprint, a specific score for each single patient? So we do have this deep profiler platform that are constantly enhancing to come to those methods. There's a lot of co-creation with a wide number of clinical partners for that. Of course, with all AI methods, deep learning methods, and so on, there's also a lot of data. And I was also talking earlier to one of you, I can't see you in the crowd, is there's always challenges about, from a regulatory perspective, how do you always explain these results? It needs to be very transparent. How do you test it? You need to be able to test with every single scenario, So it's not like, you say, oh, you have 5,000 data sets. If they're all similar, that doesn't help. So really, we need to think through a lot what the strategies for developing a medical device means, from test to regulatory clearance and so on. So it's, as I've shown there, a lot of research that's going on to pave the way. Ultimately, where do you want to see such solutions in the future? Where, ultimately you want it at the point of decision making. So we want it available maybe at the tablet, wherever you are discussing with physician colleagues, or discussing with your patient, to integrate it in your primary systems like the EMR, to having it up like this in like a multidisciplinary team meeting. Of course, there's a lot of challenges, from how do you automatically extract all the data, how do you normalize the data and harmonize it. So there's standardized ways, standardized systems of representing information. So these are the areas that we're working on, together with a lot of standards as well, like MAID, BFIRE, SNOMED, REDLEX, and so on. At the same time, whenever it comes to decision support, and AI, it is not enough to only explain the technology. It needs to be really intuitive and easy to understand as well. So this is also one of the areas we focus on, a lot of the usability concepts. NLP, or natural language processing, is also challenging. So everything besides imaging pixel data is text data. So NLP is a huge challenge. Accuracy or improving deep learning algorithms for NLP is another area we are working on, to really say, how can you tune with new data that you see every time, you know? How can you train the models? Okay, so from challenges to end my talk, just as I started with the analogy, so we had maps and now we have Google Maps. Likewise, we have evidence-based guidelines, but can we generate those evidences? And can we really enable at any point of time physicians, multidisciplinary teams, and something easy for the patient to also understand where they are? How do I use all this research to really see where I am, to participate in the decision making, and thus help both standardization and personalization? And as Siemens, as I said, our long-term aspiration, and there's a long way to go when we think precision medicine and digital twin, ta-da, we really want to understand organs, diseases, comorbidities, system, step by step by step, okay? So that's where we are looking ahead and working on together with a wide number of research teams and collaboration sites globally. Okay, thank you very much. I'm happy to take, yeah, if you have any questions, happy to take them now or later. No? Sure. It was a bit hard for me to hear, so I'm sorry. Liver transplant, exactly. Yeah, got it. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, thank you. Absolutely. I missed the liver part. I heard from the transplant. So exactly. So liver is also one of the areas we're working on, similar to the heart. We also have literally a virtual twin of the liver where you can simulate liver resections and surgeries up front and really plan your treatments. So that's exactly a very good area for multidisciplinary teams. Thank you.
Thanks very much for your talk. So navigating healthcare systems, not just in the UK but across the world, can be quite complex and quite, you know, even for a patient trying to navigate sort of small nuances, local networks of GPs, allied health, and so forth. And there are also local protocols in addition to international guidelines that
Yes.
can resource limitations.
Yes.
So I was wondering whether your plan incorporates just sort of one country like the UK and then optimizing for that particular system. And how do you account for all those local nuances in how medicine is practiced?
Yeah. Okay. So here is something we're working on. So one idea is to bring, let's say, of course, the top different international systems, right? Like NICE guidelines in the UK when compared to NCC and ESMO, ACC standards, and so on. So that's one way. The other way is a learning system. So if you think about AI perspective, imagine what is a local policy. I mean, it's based on evidences you generated in-house, saying that this works well. So I want to make different changes in my institutions because I feel that works better, right? So one idea could be, of course, you have some international evidences, but every time you use the system is learning that you are mostly using this. And by the way, if I look at your cohort outcomes, it also shows that you had good outcomes there. You had less recurrence, less readmissions, and so on. So in other words, I'm just wondering if we literally have to translate today's practice into the new digital world just because we had local policies, is because, you know, somewhere you have to take the international policies and make your own guidelines, right? But maybe in the digital world, and if you think about the learning systems, what you're ultimately saying is what's working well? How do I see what's working well? How do I bring more weight to those options because I can see that's working well in my institution? You know what I mean? So this is so there are different ideas we are exploring here. So literally not translating today's world into let's bring something into a software, but really thinking about what are the possibilities with AI and with learning and being able to maybe edit some options yourself very intuitively. And this is what we are also, it's part of co-creation of the next step, working together with different institutions, trying to see what works well. And hopefully soon we have a good idea. All right.
Can you, just following up on this, can you imagine the future being less of a translating those guidelines into a software system and more into the guidelines becoming a way of curating the actual evidence that you have on the
Yes.
on a particular institution,
Yes.
so that you try to extract the guidelines directly from that data that is
Exactly.
available?
Exactly. Absolutely. So, so two thoughts there, again, from wide number of institutions. One is, making the guidelines as a starting point. So again, take Google Map, right? So if you think about it, let's say you are here, you have 5 roads. How did those 5 roads come? Because people passed by there, created evidence saying there are 5 roads. But now you want to discover a new route, or you want to discover that this is the best route, right? So that's part of the learnings from your own institution. So what we are thinking about is how to enable you as an institution to create those evidences. Because how are those guidelines getting evidences today? It's all the leading institutions providing those evidences in different formats. But can we in the future provide those evidences in a certain standard way, because you can have solutions like this that actually bring those evidences and create the new path and create a better alternative. And this is what we are trying to do. So for me, every time you use it, it is building evidences on top, and then your own local evidences, and that could be used also to submit to these guidelines saying, hey, here's a new pathway. And this is what also the guidelines authorities are very interested, because today they said there are committees sitting there, they vote, people bring information, but there's a lot of unstructured data now. It's we're thinking of making it more structured. All right. Happy to discuss it also later during the breaks if it's of interest. Thank you very much for having me.